So for my first course material that I decided to review, I decided to review a screencast that I created. So I teach an online course and I create a screencast for all of my lessons, and I also share these lessons with my face-to-face students. So I just post it on Schoology, which is the learning management system that my school uses. And then if I'm not there for a day or something like that, the students can watch screencasts and still kind of learn the material and get practice with it, even though I'm not there. So the screencast is 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So I'm going to cut it off short, so I'm not going to do the last part where I talk about a code word and like my assignment and everything like that. So I'm just going to kind of go through the lesson so that you have a brief idea. And this was the shortest screencast that I created, so I couldn't really find one that was shorter than this. When I compared my screencast to the online accessibility handbook for the video and audio, I did realize that I don't really have any sort of captions or transcripts or anything like that. I also don't have my screencasts uploaded to YouTube. I either have them saved on Screencast-O-Matic or I have them on a flash drive. But that is definitely something that I'm going to add in next year for all of my screencasts. And then the audio, the same type of deal. I don't have a transcript for it right now, but that is something that I plan on kind of incorporating into all my screencasts for next year. Um, One of the main things that I also do, I mentioned that I use my screencasts when I'm not at school. If I have to take a day off for whatever reason, I have the students watch the screencast, and my students have mentioned that it is difficult for them to kind of hear the videos. If everybody's playing at the same time, I always tell them to bring headphones. I say, you're going to watch a screencast tomorrow, bring in headphones, but many of them still forget. So if I have another teacher in my school that's subbing for me, they can just hook up the computer to my smart board and watch it that way, so everybody kind of gets the same direct instruction. But I think that the captioning would also help, because then the students could just read the captions and they wouldn't just be watching a video without any sound and like getting distracted by the other sounds in the room. So I think that that's actually something super helpful for me to actually use for next year. I did create my video from a PowerPoint, but since I was kind of reviewing and analyzing the video, I didn't go to the PowerPoint one, so I figured that this would just be my good review for the video the screencast that I had created. When I compared my screencast to the UDL guidelines, the only thing that I really found that it really kind of went along with was the language and symbols component, which was just I used the less than and greater than symbols. I used some angle symbols in geometry. There's no, I used kind of like a length symbol, but that doesn't really have a symbol. It's just two capital letters that are next to one another. So I used a lot of mathematical notation that the students had learned earlier in the year, so I kind of kept that consistent with what we had done. I dealt a lot with comprehension, so just kind of focusing on the background knowledge. A lot of that's, in the very beginning I mentioned that it's similar to what we did in section 5.5, so I didn't go into a lot of detail in that screencast with exactly how it works. The patterns and the big ideas I definitely focused on for the section, and all of the other stuff. So it was just kind of a whole lesson in itself. For expression and communication, I didn't really use any multiple media tools for the communication, but I tried to build the fluencies with the support level and performance. So I did try to do that a little bit in this screencast. It wasn't very prominent, but it was there slightly, I felt. And then to guide appropriate goal setting. So I really kind of went over why the one side length was larger than the other, and why the other angle was really larger than the other. And I felt that I kind of did have some executive functions in there as well, but I would say the main two were the language and symbols and the comprehension. I did not really focus on anything with engagement, mostly because it was just kind of a lesson. So I guess the screencast could be somewhat engaging depending on how interesting you find geometry, and how, interested you are in learning geometry, but I think it's hard to really be super engaging sometimes when you're just giving a screencast of something, but I probably could have added in some interesting facts and things like that. And I probably could have even put like a whole explanation of the hinge theorem. So it's based off of like opening and closing a door and where the two congruent pieces. So I probably could have drew something and did like a supplemental screencast for the hinge theorem to kind of really show them how it relates to a door opening and closing. So that could have been a little bit more engaging for them, just showing them kind of where it's used. So this screencast definitely needs some work to make it more accessible for all types of learners, because that's something that I didn't even really focus on in any of these. I couldn't really relate my screencast to most of those. So that I did color code, which was something that was mentioned in the textbook, that you can do different color coding, and it was also mentioned in the online accessibility handbook for, I don't know if it was under the Word documents or if it was also in the PowerPoint section, but I did do a little bit of color coding when I was going through the problems. But it definitely needs a lot more work to make it accessible for a lot more struggling students.